Good morning again. If you don't know me, hello, I'm Reverend Elisha Christopher. I'm the spiritual director here of the Center for Spiritual Living in Santa Cruz. I do use they, them pronouns. My ancestors really truly come from all over the world, but those who immigrated to this country I know came from Ireland, Scotland, Austria, and Holland, and I do have ancestors indigenous to the Americas as well. So we're marching right through March. It really, this month, at least for me, has just been like moving. There's so much happening. And I'm grateful to be here, as always, right here with you. Let's take a few breaths together. Just let it all out, and then breathe it in, and let it go. Another deep breath in, and let it go. One more deep breath, breathe in, and let it go. And so this month, our theme across the Centers for Spiritual Living that we're exploring in March is simply, what if? And as I've been saying each week this month, I really believe that what if is a profound spiritual question. Maybe one of the biggest questions we can ask ourselves. You know, oftentimes I think that it's really easy for us to be in the what is of our experience, in the what is of what we've known, in the what is of whatever conditions we're living in. And I think sometimes the bravest and maybe most courageous and scariest thing that we can do is actually ask, what if? What if this was different? What if there's something here for me that I haven't found yet? What if there's more to my life than I've allowed myself to experience? And in our practitioner studies this year, there's a group of about 6 of you who are going through our practitioner training, and we're reading this book by our founder of this movement, Ernest Holmes, called Living the Science of Mind. And I want to read you a little something that was in their homework reading this last couple weeks. And Ernest Holmes is talking to us about how we talk to ourselves and about how we think about our lives. And he says, you think you were born of flesh and blood. You think your parents gave life to you. You think that everything that has happened to you since you were born is held against you. You think that all the negative thoughts you've ever had are operating against you. You think that all the fears and failures and doubts and uncertainties that you have been carrying around for years are something over which you have no control. Why not try something else? He's saying, what if, right? And he says, I have a method which will work for you if you let it. Come to realize that while you were born into this world through your parents, that you really are a spirit. You really are born out of life. The thing that entered into you when you were born was God, the living spirit. Why not get back to the true center of your being and think and act and live from the point of view that you are one with everything because you are one with God? And then he goes on to give us this little Jesus quote that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added to you. And I love this thing where he says, you think this is true. You think this is true. You think all of these things that have happened to you are controlling you. You think all this stuff about yourself. You think. And he says, try something else. Think a new thought. Give yourself the permission to ask yourself, what if I am truly, each one of us, ask ourselves, what if I am absolutely perfect because I am the living spirit of the universe itself, here in human form, expressing exactly as I came here to express? What if there is truly nothing that can injure, hurt, or harm the truth of who we are? And I've been talking about this a lot over the last couple of weeks, that there's something within us that is pure spirit. And that on top of that gets layered all of these beliefs and all these things that people tell us about ourselves and all the things that we learn in life and all the things that we experience and all the stuff that happens to us, and all of it gets piled on top of that pure essence. And it's really easy to look at all the stuff and all the conditions and all the things that we're experiencing and say that all that out there is the truth of it. All that's happened to me is the truth of me. When truly there's something so much deeper that is the absolute truth of who we are. And that is that we, each one of us, every living being on this planet, truly is part of the great wholeness. That each one of us is the light of God manifested in this world to be a unique expression. And that everything that comes our way, everything that happens to us, all the stuff that gets layered on top of it is just an illusion. It's a distortion of the truth. You know, it's a really beautiful thing to believe in oneness and to believe that Spirit is in everything. And it's a whole nother thing to actually choose to live our lives in a way as if we're looking for that thing everywhere. Right? That's the Jesus quote that we get, the seek ye first the kingdom of God and everything else will be added to you. The kingdom of God is the truth. The kingdom of God is that place in consciousness where we see the oneness, where we see the interconnectedness, where we see the breath of life breathing everything, where we see that we're part of the great exchange of energy here on this planet that is the one thing interacting with itself. That's the kingdom of God. That's the consciousness of oneness. And when we stay there first, when we go there first, when we operate from that place, everything else starts to open up. But if we live at the level of the conditions or the illness or the abuse or the war or the fascism or the whatever it is that's happening, if we live at the level of the out there, there's always going to be more than we think we can handle. Everything out there is coming at us to make us potentially feel less powerful than we truly are. I think that's part of the systems of oppression that are at work in this nation and in the world, are there to keep people forgetting just how powerful and magnificent and beautiful we truly are. Right? And that our job, especially in the atmosphere in which we live in this nation right now, our job is to not allow the overwhelm to shrink us down, but make it be something that turns us inward so that we find that source of power, that source of truth, that source of justice, that source of freedom, that source of all good is truly coming from within each one of us. And I'm going to tell you a story about a friend of mine named Luke. A couple years ago, I received a letter in the mail at our Felt Street Center from someone who was serving multiple life sentences in prison for a crime that he committed when he was 19 years old. We're the same age. This person's been in prison for 21, 22 years. And this is a long story. I'm going to shorten it a little bit. Luke received a Science of Mind magazine many years ago, which is a Science of Mind, the magazine that our organization publishes, and started to read it. And then ordered the Science of Mind textbook and started to read that and started to read the works of Ernest Holmes. And in one of his letters, he told me he read it so much that the pages started to fall out of this book. And this person is serving life sentence in prison and began to contemplate the idea of his freedom. He began to contemplate the idea of his wholeness. He began to contemplate the idea that perhaps everything comes from thought first, and if I truly am willing to believe in my value, if I'm truly willing to believe in freedom, maybe that freedom can truly be. And over the years, Luke has put multiple appeals out on his sentences, and 2 of his life sentences have already been commuted. He currently has an appeal up for his next life sentence. And part of this, what emerged for him, was not just a prayer for himself and for his own freedom, but he's actually challenging the sentencing laws in the state of Florida that as it applies to people who commit crimes under the age of 24. His case just reached the federal courts and is waiting on a judge to hear this case. When this case goes through, it will not only lead to his freedom, this case is also tied to almost 100,000 other people who are incarcerated in the state of Florida who committed crimes at a young age that would change their sentencing and lead them to potentially having freedom. Right? And we were on a FaceTime call a couple weeks ago because due to the power of prayer, he ends up having a phone. This person is sitting in a cell in Florida serving a life prison sentence, and we are talking on FaceTime, and he's looking at me like, I read an article you wrote in a magazine 3 years ago, and now I'm talking to you on my phone from my cell. This is impossible. And yet, where there was no way, a way has been made. Yes. And in a call we had a couple weeks ago, he said to me, I just know that the same power that was behind Moses when he went to Pharaoh to say, let my people go, is the same power that's behind me as my case goes to the federal courts. This is a person who has less access to freedom, quote unquote, than any of us in this room. Who I tell you, my friends, has a faith that is unshakable. And it's that faith that can open up doors. It's that faith that has allowed him to dream of something that seemed absolutely impossible to him, that he's invited me to dream with him, that I'm inviting you to dream with him, that because there's a prayer here for freedom. The willingness to ask, what if? Now think of wherever you are in your life or whatever it is that you're experiencing, whatever prison you've put around, whatever you think is or isn't possible for your life, for your love, for your health, for your well-being, for our nation, for the world, and imagine what's possible if you are truly willing to ask, what if? What if any perceived limitation, wall or barrier or locked door in your life, what if there is a way that it can be opened? And that way comes through consciousness. That way comes through belief. That way comes through faith. That way comes from being grounded in a principle that says there is a power that is living and breathing my body that's moving through me in ways greater than I can understand. And that power that creates worlds, that power that walked with Moses, that power that walked with whomever it is that you look up to throughout history who's made a way where there wasn't a way, that power is standing and breathing and walking behind each one of us. And as we move to this No King's Day coming up this coming weekend, we're about to experience in the United States the largest day of mass protest and demonstration that has ever happened. We're expecting 20,000 people to be marching here in Santa Cruz on Saturday. Right? This is about to be the largest day of mass demonstration in U.S. history. And the thing that I know is that there's a power that's moving in this nation. There's a power that's moving our collective consciousness, and that power is love. That power is the power that is justice. That power is the power that is freedom. And remember, friends, all of the powers of oppression that are pushing down are waking us up. That pressure is causing something to be ready to emerge and to grow and become that's been underneath the surface all along. It's just been waiting for the right moment. And guess what, y'all? It's spring. It's the right moment, right? The dawn is coming. The dawn comes before the darkest moment in the night. We're in a pretty dark night here in America. It's just in time for the dawn to awaken, right? And it's awakening in us. And so let us remember that our job is to ask what is possible. What if there's something more happening right here, right now, and we are all part of it. Lynn McTaggart tells us anytime a group of people focuses on the same thing at the same time, something more becomes available. The power of intention multiplies depending on how many people are thinking the same thought at the same time. Hold on, my dear ones. Here comes the dawn. Millions of us are singing this song around the country and around the world. There are millions and millions of people thinking the same thought at the same time, and that thought is, hold on, here comes the dawn. There's a power that is moving with us. There's a power that's moving in the world all the time, and it's waiting for our attention, it's waiting for our direction, and it's waiting for our participation. So breathe. And breathe again. And as we breathe, I want us to feel ourselves being breathed. Take a breath. Each one of us is breathing every moment of every day. But something changes, something is different when we take that breath purposefully and intentionally. So take a deep breath in and let it go. And take another deep breath in and let it go. And just like we're breathing every moment of every day, and something happens when we choose to take control of that breath, the spirit of life itself, that power that walked with Moses that Luke talks about, is working and walking with each one of us every moment of every day. But something happens when we choose to be it on purpose. Just like with the breath. It's always available, but we can harness it at any moment for a purpose. So take another deep breath in, and let's go into prayer. Michael, if you would join me in this. Let's all just exhale, let all the breath out, and together let's take a few breaths. Breathe in. And let it go. And continue to breathe purposefully. As we breathe together, I speak this reminder that there is indeed something greater than we are that is breathing these bodies. Let us feel ourselves being breathed. Remember, we can control that breath, but we can also surrender to it. We can remember that there's a power greater than we are that is breathing our bodies, that is beating our hearts. There is something greater than we can comprehend that is waking up in our collective consciousness. And so I want to say in this moment that there is a sea of infinite possibility in which we live. And as we breathe into that awareness, let each one of us remember that we are here in this moment on purpose. That we, each one of us, perhaps, and I claim to choose, believe, and know that each one of us came into this world on purpose. That each one of us chose to be here, was called to be here, was sent here, however we want to frame it. But we're here to be here at this moment in time, at this moment in history, because each one of our consciousness, each one of our participation, each one of our choosing and being is necessary for what is taking place in this world right now. And so just as easily as we are being breathed, and just as easily as we take control of that breath, as we harness that power, let us remember that each one of us can be available to the Spirit of life to create something greater through us than we can imagine. Let us look out into the field of our lives and see wherever we perceive a wall, a boundary, a locked door, or a barrier in any way, let us know that simply what we have to do is tune in to the truth of who we are, and from that place of our cosmic perspective, ask simply the question, what if? What if something could be different? What if there is a way where I see no way? What if there is a power greater than I am that is working through my life? What if there is something more here than I can see? What if? And so we move ourselves from what is to what if, so that we open our consciousness to be vessels for creation. Each one of us can stand for love. Each one of us can sing for freedom. Each one of us can be the justice. Each one of us can speak the truth. And so let us just be in the gratitude today for this reminder that the truth of who we are is spiritual magnificence, that the truth of who we are is evolution, that the truth of who we are is absolute glory, because each one of us is life itself. Each one of us is God. Each one of us is spirit, expressing as only we can. And so for all of this and the more, let us just be grateful, and let us surrender to that which is breathing us, and open ourselves to be breathed, to be lived, to let the something more move through us, so that we can let go and trust the universe as we hold on. We know that the dawn is coming. And so we let it be, and so it is.